Don't just let the current take you somewhere.
In business, it's about influence. It's about selling. It's about getting your ideas across.
Our work effort, it took about 17 man days in the old ways with mainframes, computer, green bar, adding machine tapes, all that stuff. 17 days to 17 seconds.
Welcome to Money Mavericks, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of finance, investment, and entrepreneurship.
I'm Kirk Drake.
And I'm Daryl Hicks. Together, we're here to bring you the latest insights, expert opinions from the trailblazers who are redefining success in the financial world. How in the world did you end up raising capital from LPs and investing into startups where you are now? Where did it all start and how did you end up there?
I went to business school and really fell in love with sort of the challenge of non-linear stochastic systems, right? So in business, it's about influence. It's about selling. It's about getting your ideas across. It's not in engineering. There's a right answer and there's a wrong answer. The light turns on or it doesn't. The idea was, it was the combination of everything that I really enjoyed from my business career at that point. And what I mean by that is that I really enjoy going from 0 to 1. I really enjoy startups that, just have to change the world. They just have that sort of biting passion and are crazy enough to take on the world, knowing the odds in a lot of cases, because it's tough. I really enjoy going to 0 to 1. I feel like there's the most contribution from my experience and learning. I learn the most in return, selfishly. The most reward is at that stage. And then finally, in Canada, there's very few, or certainly a lot better now, happily, but very few early stage VCs who really get it, like who really, are entrepreneurs as well. And by the way, everybody on my team has founded at least 2 companies. That was really important to us, or is important to us. So this opportunity of starting a firm and making it the way I wanted to, based on everything I had learned, was really compelling.
And you guys have a particular focus on FinTech as well, if I'm not mistaken. Is that accurate?
It's better to say we have a focus on enterprise. And put more succinctly, I really like taking on the incumbents and in antiquated industries. And FinTech is the poster child for antiquated. And I don't mean that in a super negative way, but FinTech is, finances and accounting and dollars. It's really important that we have stable systems, right? This is the foundational principle of the world and money. But having said that, a lot of the systems that are in place are, were built for a completely different network. Credit cards, for example, were built, decades ago. They work fine, but they were never built for the digital era. They were never built for card not present. They were never built for the internet. And so there creates an opportunity. So in general, we like going after problems that new modern technology allows us to look at an industry in a new light, in a new way. And then underpinning all of that is that we care a lot about what we call it, like utility investing. So what is the value proposition? Does it actually provide tangible, monetizable utility? If you add our technology, we can prove to you right to the penny that we've made you money. That to me is super compelling and it's demonstrable, as opposed to, hey, wouldn't it be neat if I had a robot that walked my dog? That's okay and that's innovative, but we're just much more interested in hardcore utility that you can measure.
I was there when the first PC came out. I was there when Gates and Mitch Kapoor and all these guys were inventing, software and spreadsheets and everything. And this confluence of how do we use this tech to solve problems in banking just hit me at the right place at the right time. And ultimately, that's where I'm at today. How do we use this technology that's evolving at light speed to solve real problems for community banks? And that is the ethos that I've experienced and lived with and grown up with.
You and I share some commonality here. I was, in the 80s, just coming into this field, and everyone was kind of looking at me as being like, oh, just give it to Daryl. He'll figure out what to do with this tech. I'm curious though, Charles, how did they know you're coming into these banks, and you framed that up nicely, mainframes, PCs, all this stuff is just coming of age. How do they know that you were the right guy to give the tech stuff to?
It's not about me. It's ultimately about results. And if we could demonstrate real results. So here was the first problem inside the bank that I was given. So in August of 1981, and I tell this story oftentimes, and I show this picture, August of 1981, IBM rolls out the very first PC, very very first commercial PC. The bank I was working on was a big IBM shop. All the other Atlanta companies, Coke and Delta, all the big IBM shops. IBM's like, hey, we're going to take you to Boca Raton, Florida and see where we make the PCs. Interesting punchline. You can still drive to the office park that had the very first assembly line for the IBM PC in Boca Raton, Florida, and peek through the windows and see where this stuff happened. So we get to go down there. I'm working my way through college. So I'm in, an engineering technology orientation, and we get to teams of us from my bank and these other companies. We go down there and we actually get to pick our PC up off and fly it back on the chartered flight with us sitting back in the plane. And then you come back and you start working that summer, figuring out, okay, let's create a team to create a project to try to figure out how to deploy and apply this technology to what we're doing in banking. That very same year in 1981, Fannie Mae started rolling out their very first mortgage-backed security products. We were a huge mortgage servicer, Fannie Mae originations. And so we're like, okay, let's go look at how you do these securities. How do you package securities? And is there a way to use this technology to improve that? Now, we had figured out through our work effort, it took about 17 man days in the old ways with mainframes, computer and green bar, adding machine tapes, all that stuff. 17 days to 17 seconds. That PC forever changed my view of things, and everybody inside the bank, goes to your question, saw what it could do. So ultimately, solving problems in a creative, innovative, efficient way changes everything. And so it is the proverbial, proof is in the eating of the pudding. I firmly believe that our ultimate success in this kind of technology and to the FinTech entrepreneurs who might be listening to this, ultimately, you got to be real clear about what problem you solve. No shiny objects. There's a lot of shiny objects out there.
Mm-hmm.
Go solve a problem and prove it.
Yeah, I love that. And by the way, I love that you used that the right way. A lot of people say the proof is in the pudding, but actually it's the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. I'm a bit of a pedant for that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Oh God, that you used. That's one of my favorite words.
On Money Mavericks, we don't just talk about making money. We explore the innovative strategies and bold decisions that drive real change. Whether you're an experienced investor, a budding entrepreneur, or just someone looking to make smarter financial choices, we've got something for you.
Every week, we're going to sit down with industry leaders, visionaries, and mavericks who share their journeys, challenges, and breakthroughs, from contrarian views on market trends to the secrets behind building a successful startup. You get an inside look at what it takes to thrive in today's economy.
And we promise to keep it real, engaging, and most importantly, actionable. No jargon, no fluff. Just straightforward conversations that you can apply to your own financial journey.
So get ready to challenge your thinking, expand your knowledge, and take control of your financial future. This is Money Mavericks,
where we turn financial dreams into realities and mavericks into legends.
I'd love to know from your perspective, what kind of behaviors do you think most correlate with getting speed from pilot to contract? Like you talked about fintechs come in and solve a problem. Let's assume that the fintech knows what the problem is and they've got a solution that's reasonably credible to solve that problem. What kind of behaviors do you think most correlate on getting speed from pilot to contract? And how should fintech founders kind of design around those behaviors?
Yeah, look, strategy dictates everything. So, I oftentimes, and our team talks about the fact that, banks are snowflakes. They're all different, yet they're all still snow. So there's some commonality there, but there's some nuance and some difference, right? The ag lender in Minot, North Dakota, and the med tech banker in, suburban Atlanta, they're both community banks, but they're vastly different. So they have to have a very clear orientation around their strategy, and the fintechs need to understand that. The worst thing that people in sales, and I know Kirk understands this, and we've talked about it before, is ask questions. They'll tell you. Discovery is everything. So for the entrepreneurs to move faster from first contact to live to revenue, they've got to be really clear that they understand what the bank's strategy, goals, and objectives are and how they coexist there. And oftentimes with, some of the smaller banks, it's more a function of when, not if, because they can't just do everything all at one time. They got to sequence this stuff properly. And there's no shortage of desire on the part of the community banks to do these things, but they got to do them in a very thoughtful, progressive manner with the right resources. And so while you may have the, greatest thing since sliced bread, you may be second or third or fourth in line to the other things that they must do or have to do in order to be able to take advantage of what you're offering them.
And a great point in that I always see, especially early stage fintechs, the founder are so eager to tell you about this awesome, slice of bread that they made, that they forget to ask if you're hungry. They forget to ask if you're gluten-free. If they forget to ask the qualifying questions.
Exactly.
And they're trying to sell everything to everyone. And I was like this when I first started my first fintech. And the sooner you accept that your solution will not be for all 9,000 financial institutions.
Right.
And your job is to figure out in the early days, how many will it be for, right? And what are the parameters that make you cut the line where they have the problem, especially in the early days. You want to know the profile of the people who have the exact problem that you solve and how to ask the questions about it so you don't waste your time doing a demo. Because community bankers and credit people are nice. They're going to look at your baby every single time, whether it's a fit for them or not, right? And they're generally aren't disciplined enough to say, I'm only looking at things that look like X, right?
Exactly. Well, one of my team members famously reminds the fintechs that come into our programs, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So be a better listener.
A lot of people think that confidence is the thing that you need in order to get started. And I think that confidence only comes from having done something successfully multiple times. When you're thinking about doing something that you've never done before, how can you be confident in your approach to it? Really, what we need is courage.
Whether it's courage or something else that's just unique. I'll give you 2 examples that often come to my mind. One is one of our CEOs, actually is a pair, CEO, COO. They were doing a software company and sort of not that important, but the reason I got super excited about them was, it was like, tell me about you guys in a relationship. And they met at the gym. Okay, that's great. But they ultimately did a 100-mile ultra marathon together, and they finished together. And to me, that was really compelling because it really spoke to what you said, Daryl, about mental fortitude and just sort of that conviction and willpower. Because running a startup is a little like that. It's a marathon, it's an ultra marathon, and it is effing hard sometimes, right? Sometimes it's great, it's a roller coaster for sure, but it is not for the faint of heart. And so the fact that they had done that together, to me, was really compelling. And it ultimately became a very big success. We sold it a couple of years ago. Another one, and this wasn't one of mine, but one of my investors is a guy named Richard Labbe. And Richard was the founder of a company called MedEng. And if you've ever seen the movie Hurt Locker, it's those bomb-proof suits. So Richard invented those. But what was really cool about it, and why I cite him as the quintessential entrepreneur, is he blew himself up like 14 times. Blew himself up. And we're talking TNT. And to test his equipment. And that's what gave him the credibility as a 28-year-old, wet behind the ears kid going to foreign governments and special forces downrange and going, you need to buy my bomb-proof suit. Like, that's the kind of, and I'm going to say that's the extreme example for sure, but it's the kind of conviction and passion and all in and willpower.
Set your sails. Don't just let the current take you somewhere. Take the time to actually think about the destination, set your sails, and it'll be an adventure.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Money Mavericks. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to share this episode with someone who needs to hear it.
Stay connected with us on social media and visit our website for exclusive resources, episode transcripts, and more.
Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, making smart moves, and turning your financial dreams into realities.
You've been listening to Money Mavericks, where Mavericks become legends.